Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Andrew Claudio is here, and we're going to talk about NBA games from tonight, Thursday night, where we got two immaculate overtime games. One was like a football game. One was the way basketball is supposed to be played, with two incredibly beautiful performances from Stephen Curry and Aaron Gordon. And then we're going to go into the gambling thing that has taken the NBA world by storm with Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups. Finally, we will then talk about games that occurred yesterday, including Victor Wembanyama looking like a superhero, alien, whatever word descriptor you want to use for a guy that might be the best player in the world by the end of the year. So let's get into it. But first, we'll hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What is this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Andrew, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? Happy to be here. Happy opening week of the NBA to you and yours. It's been a welcome return to the NBA because while, of course, we will talk about some off-the-court stuff, the basketball has been very good and it's been very fun. And after what felt like the longest preview weeks ever, it's good to actually talk about basketball and not the theory of what basketball might be this season. So how are you?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And that's why, like, the gambling thing, like, we're not starting with it. It's because, look, on this show, we care about basketball. Like, that's the reality. This is not the drama show for the most part. We have to talk about it when we have to talk about it. And unfortunately, we do have to talk about it today. But this show's bread and butter is the hoops. And man, did we get a fucking incredible game to finish the night tonight with Denver and Golden State. I still haven't watched the first quarter and a half because of the overlap that occurred with Oklahoma City and Indiana, which went into double overtime, by the way. But I mean, what an unbelievable basketball game Denver and Golden State played tonight. 137 to 131. Golden State comes back to defeat the Denver Nuggets. They avoid a 50 ball from Aaron Gordon, a triple double from Nikola Jokic, what I thought was like a pretty good Jamal Murray performance up until the end there. And they still find a way. They still find a way. And what did we talk about on the first episode that we did in the season opener with Bryce? We talked about the fact that Golden State just looks so much crisper to me than everybody else right now, league-wide. Their movement, the efficiency of their off-ball movement, their timing, particularly on offense, I think is what really stands out to me. That is by far the thing that I'm watching with Golden State, and I'm going, oh, they're just going to catch everybody early. Like, other teams might catch up to them at some point, but it feels like to me, it's going to take a real aberrant shooting night for Golden State to struggle in a game right now, because they are playing really, really high level basketball that is just a level above in terms of execution where I feel like other teams that we've seen are right now.
Well, it's a continuation of what they were post Jimmy Butler trade last year.
Yeah.
You know, they went on that run, and if Steph doesn't hurt his hamstring in the playoffs, who knows how far that run potentially goes. I know I started to reevaluate just how important Jimmy Butler was to this team. I think I took their over this season, but look, Father Time, and like you said, maybe some off shooting nights are the only thing that I'm really going to see stopping this Golden State team, with how many guys they have in their mid to late 30s as important parts of this run. Look, I agree with you about the crispness and the smooth nature in which they're able to generate offense. Permission just to gush about Steph Curry, and that we're in what year of him still being able to just do this. And I like late in the fourth quarter, the Nuggets are up. They're up like 4 or 5, maybe even 6. And the broadcast team goes, Steph misses a 3, and he's like, oh, he's only 3 of 9 tonight for the second straight game. He then follows it up with like a 17-10 run all by himself for the rest of the game. Like obviously Golden State, other people scored, but by himself, he's able to still have these explosions of offense that like his gravity is able to help his teammates do well. And then just the attention he commands, and then just is still able to pull up from wherever and hit the big shot. And I'm at the point where I'm shocked when he doesn't hit the big shot down the stretch. In an episode that we're eventually going to talk about potentially a generational performance or a player that we're like, I don't think I've ever seen this before. It's cool to still be seeing this from Steph Curry at this point in his career.
I couldn't agree more. It was 116-109 with 350 left in the game after Nikola Jokic makes like one of those little like runner shots that he makes. And Golden State calls a timeout at that point. Steph gets to the line with 2 minutes 42 left, makes a couple free throws, gets fouled on a 3-pointer, makes 3 free throws. Then Jokic splits a pair of free throws after getting fouled by Al Horford, drills a 3. Aaron Gordon comes down and drills a 3 of his own for his 10th 3 of the game. Then Steph makes that like ridiculously absurd deep 3 with 22 seconds left to tie the game and get it to 120-120, the number that would send it to overtime. And then he drills like another 29-footer or something like that to be able to give them the lead early in overtime. He scored 16 straight points at one point for Golden State in the fourth quarter and overtime. I think over the last like 4.5 minutes of regulation and then like the first minute of overtime, it was completely ridiculous. It was like one of those supernova Steph performances that we know he's dancing, he's shimmying, he knows he's got it at that point. And again, like kudos to the Warriors. Like a huge piece of this is again, that like kind of timing and coordination that I talk about, because you know, Draymond Green and he have this unbelievable synergy together and chemistry that we know is going to out execute everybody late in games, because again, what wins? Timing wins in these circumstances, unless you're, you know, somebody that's just going to make like an unbelievable shot. But Steph starts in the backcourt on the last play that ties the game before regulation ends. And they run like a DHO for Dre into a rescreen. And it's just like, okay, I mean, good luck. He has the best range of any player that's ever played. He's the best shooter of any player that's ever played basketball. You feel great that that's probably a 35 to 40% look, even 35 feet away from the rim, directly off of a DHO. And it's just like, well, I mean, like, I don't know what Denver does. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy that this is who he is.
Yeah. Like you said, with about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, he had 24 points and he finishes with 42, 6 and 7 on the night, 6 of 12 from 3. And look, we can start to talk about the Denver side of this. I actually was very impressed with how they played for most of the night in controlling Steph and forcing him to make his way into the paint. He did a lot of work, or Golden State did a lot of work, trying to get downhill and live at the rim. And then, you know, the inevitable happened, was that Steph Curry was able to get his shots late. But performances like this, I just want to keep continuing to appreciate, because we're on year 11 of this, really, when he started to, and I will take the Knicks perspective from this here, that coming out party he had in 2013 where he hit 11 threes at Madison Square Garden. Pretty much since then, it's just been one of the most fun experiences ever to see Steph go off, and he's been doing it on a semi-regular basis, whether it be in game 1 of or game 2 in this case of an 82 game slate, or, you know, in memorable NBA Finals games as well.
Well, in the third quarter, I just kind of want to run through this little like set of plays for Golden State.
Please do.
It was Jimmy inbounds from a sideline out of bounds to Draymond, then just immediately backdoors to the rim, finds an easy bucket. Unbelievable timing. Steph curls off of a Jimmy screen on what was an empty side Draymond post up, just immediately drills Steph for like an open jumper. An empty side, Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga screen into a swing to Draymond, into like what became a drive and kick for a Pod's replacement right where Draymond was for an easy three. Then like they get Kuminga on an empty side post up where Draymond is at the top of the key and they're not guarding him and they're trying to say like help off of him a little bit. And he just like slow rolls to the rim and like almost felt like he was invisible. He was going so slow that anybody could have grabbed him from Denver, but for whatever reason, he just had like one of those force fields around him that happens in video games sometimes, and like nobody gets to him. And then it is, let's see here, Steph, Gary Payton DHO into a Steph pump fake. Gordon closes out too heavy because Steph's starting to feel it. Cuts off the heavy closeout, gets the ball back like easy bank mid-range. Then the next possession, Steph runs like a zoom action. Denver denies the zoom action, and Horford keeps it on the zoom on like the dribble handoff, and Peyton had slipped the screen, the first screen on the baseline there. Horford throws the ball to Peyton, and then Steph just like curls around, continues the zoom action, and goes like from the top of the key just directly into the rim, cutting for an easy layup there. It was just like so beautiful. It was perfect. All of it just worked so gorgeously. And again, like Denver was on it tonight, I thought defensively. Like they were generally engaged. They, for the most part, like knew what was going on outside of that little run that I mentioned there in the third quarter. They stayed tight. Like they really did a pretty good job, I thought. And Golden State still got them in the end. That's why, like, you know, you look at Golden State's schedule here coming up. They've already beaten the Lakers. They've already beaten the Nuggets. Like the Blazers are a good, attentive defense, but you know what? Like Memphis, the Clippers, like the Clippers are just like a little bit older, right? Now, the thing is that Golden State will be a back-to-back on that one, but like Milwaukee will be a third and fourth nights, but like a lot of those defenders are not super attentive. Indiana, I thought, allowed a ton of dribble penetration tonight. Phoenix's defense, like Jordan Ott, like I think is a good defensive coach, but I don't know that all those guys are going to be able to defend. Sacramento on the November 5th. Like if you have any guys that disengage defensively in any way, shape, or form, because of how smart everybody on the court is for Golden State, and I will throw Kuminga into that now within that scheme. He has been very good to this point within scheme for Golden State in these first two games, but certainly you look at the triumvirate of Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, and then on top of it, you have Pods, who's super smart and moves without the ball incredibly well. Buddy Hield moves without the ball incredibly well. Al Horford moves the ball so well and is this unbelievable screener, right? Gary Payton II moves incredibly well around this like offense because he's been within it for so long. Man, it's just a nightmare to guard at the end of the day. And they're going to catch so many teams here early in the season while teams are still trying to figure out defensive rotations and kind of build that cohesion. Typically, I would say defenses are a little bit ahead of offenses sometimes. Like it's hit or miss, I guess, depending on team. But you know, this is a team where I think the offense is just way ahead of everybody's defense to me, it feels like right now, except for maybe Oklahoma City. And we'll talk about them in a second.
I just make one note on Denver, maybe before we move on to the next game. So Aaron Gordon tonight finishes with 50 points. I have no idea. I didn't look it up if it's his first career 50-point game. He hit 10 threes in this game. Yeah. Is it wrong or just a weird observation to say I don't think they recognized, like the Nuggets recognized that he had it going? So he scores 10 points in the first 4:38 in the fourth quarter, and then takes one field goal attempt over the next about 6 minutes until he hits that three that you're alluding to put them up 120 to 117 or 123 to 120, whatever the score was before Steph came back down. And I'm staring at the screen in crunch time, watching like the Warriors go through all their sets and get Steph open, and they're still running their offense. And it's just like your turn, my turn with Murray and Jokic. And now I get it. It's not a bad decision to let Jamal Murray on a night he has it going, or Jokic ever, to run your offense or end it with a shot there. But for a guy that ends up with 50 points and 10 threes to go about 6.5 minutes without taking a field goal attempt and more so not taking another three until that last shot, it felt off, and it felt like they got away from what worked in how they built that lead. I don't know if that's just a weird observation or not, but I was when he hit the three to get his 10th, I was like, oh yeah, Aaron Gordon. And I wonder if the Nuggets felt the same way.
Yeah. So Aaron Gordon, previous career high in points was 41. And previous career high in threes was 7. He went 7 of 10 in a game last year, went 7 of 9 in a game for Orlando in the year he got traded to Denver. But I mean, look, if you told me when Aaron Gordon got drafted that this guy who shoots genuinely like straight legged and had no lower half involvement and like essentially like flipped the ball to the rim using all of his like wrists as opposed to like real, like beautiful shot mechanics. If you would have told me that guy, when he got drafted, will make 10 threes in an NBA game at some point, I would have absolutely called you fucking crazy. And it's such a testament to this guy. I mean, on this show for the last couple years, like I've been so clear, I think he might be the most underrated player in the NBA at this point. He is so good for this team. He plays so well off of Jokic. He's become kind of a mismatch hunter here and there on offense, which we saw tonight. He obviously has become a way better shooter going into, or particularly within last season as well. He hit 44% of his threes last year. But if you look over the course of basically from the season he got traded until now, he's been a 35% 3-point shooter on 3 attempts per game. And look, that's not a lot, but it's not nothing to where you feel like you don't have to do anything with them. And now that'll go up even more after tonight with 9 out of 10 or whatever he was. So I think this guy is just so incredibly underrated. And that's before we get to the defensive end, where guys like him are just so hard to find. Physical players who can guard perimeter players, who can guard bigger bodies, who can deal with centers and switches. Like, I think the world of Aaron Gordon. I think he is so criminally underrated around the league. I absolutely love him. I feel like he got lumped in with like Michael Porter Jr. the last couple of years. Is like, oh yeah, like the other, really good players on Denver. He is so much more to me than what Michael Porter is. And even what, like, I would rather have him than Cam Johnson, like, clearly. And I don't know that that's like a popular opinion even necessarily. So, yeah, Aaron Gordon is just an absolute monster and is so deserving of praise. I didn't feel like this was like a particularly strong Jokic game. I think they did well making things harder for him and making him seemingly take more shots from the mid-range than what is normal. He also just missed some that he makes a lot of the time. So, this could have easily been, 12 for 23 tonight, and it wouldn't have surprised anybody, I don't think.
Right. 2 for 13 from 3 too. Like, that's the thing that stood out, that they really like collapsed on like in drop and just said, hey, if you're going to beat us from 3, then we'll adjust. But he just never did, which goes to what I'm alluding to there were certain points where like Jokic is taking a 3 and I'm seeing Aaron Gordon, who's currently 10 of 11 on the wing, also open. Like you said, I didn't think it was a strong performance either. I agree with you about Aaron Gordon and the overall analysis for sure. But as far as this game is concerned, the guy took 21 shots and scored 50 points. That's one of the more efficient 50-point games I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, I believe that Jokic only took 4 shots within the restricted area tonight and took 19 outside of the restricted area. That's just not super normal for him, even though he does love that little floater spot. So, look, these are 2 of the best teams in the league right now. Unbelievable basketball game. That's my takeaway.
Would
you know what I mean?
One of those very early overreactions of I'll sign up for 7 of these,
I will absolutely sign up for 7 games just because these 2 teams, they execute at such a high level as well. That's what makes it so fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on to the other game tonight, shout out to Mizzen Main. The saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They might look sharp, but they're stiff, they're hot, they're high maintenance, and it makes it hard to feel comfortable. And that's why I'm such a fan of Mizzen Main. Again, I've been wearing Mizzen Main like before they even sponsored the show. I think these clothes are so comfortable. Particularly, I will wear them on the golf course. They are amazingly comfortable. They allow you to do athletic movements like swing a golf club. right? While still feeling comfortable and being able to get that crisp, sharp feeling that you like when you're wearing clothes. Mizzen Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel great. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and since then, they've perfected it with modern fabrics, and I can say that is definitely accurate. It is a timeless style that you can invest in once and enjoy for years. That's why thousands of guys swear by Mizzen and Main when they want to look great without the hassle. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com, promo code GAME20. That's MIZZEN and Main, MAIN.com. Promo code GAME20 for 20% off. Mizzenandmain.com, promo code GAME20. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in select states. Let's talk about Indiana and Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City wins this game in double overtime. First time that a team has ever gone into double overtime games in its first 2 games of the season. Man, Oklahoma City had to play more games than everybody else last year. And they also now are starting the season with double overtime games. What a world for them.
Youngest team in the NBA. They should be able to handle it, you know?
Yeah, that is true. They go to 2-0 now. Indiana goes to 0-1. Again, Oklahoma City fans, I think, are going to fucking lose their mind at me because we talked mostly about Houston on the last episode. I feel like I probably want to talk a little bit more about Indiana on this episode than I do Oklahoma City. I will at least note Shea was outstanding tonight. Just came out with a real purpose from the first 3 minutes. I think he went to the line for 7 free throws before the first TV break even. And he goes for 55 points on 15 of 31 from the field, 23 of 26 from the line, has the 8 rebounds and 5 assists. I thought he defended fairly well again tonight. The thing that stood out to me for Oklahoma City was that particularly Shea and AJ Mitchell just completely lived in the lane. That's the reason that they ended up coming away with this, is that I felt like Indiana's half-court defense didn't quite do a good enough job of keeping those two out of the lane throughout the course of the game.
And when they got into the lane, there was no deterrent at the rim either, you know. And look, this isn't a commentary on the officials at all, but there was a loose whistle tonight, so that's why SGA was able to get as many free throws. I thought in the overtimes in particular, I was losing track of what a foul was and what wasn't. There was some that I thought was contact throughout the rest of the game, and then some contact that then was suddenly called that wasn't called on the other end. But the best players in this sport are able to recognize when, this is going to be an advantage to me tonight. I obviously come from the world of Jalen Brunson and how he's able to benefit from contact and potentially get to the line often. So SGA, that is a skill. And I thought he utilized that skill. To your point, 26 free throw attempts in this game. I'll do my part to the OKC crowd. I was very impressed by AJ Mitchell. I forget who said it on the broadcast. I think it was Richard Jefferson who brought up Wally Pipp. For those who don't know who Wally Pipp is, that's the guy that was playing for the Yankees and then sat out for a couple of weeks with an injury. And then Joe DiMaggio took over, and then it was never Wally Pipp's job ever again. And the term getting Wally Pipped refers to, you better hold on to your job now because the person that takes over for you might never give the job back. Now, I think J-Dub is just fine in this world, Sam, but it's very clear to me that the Thunder have a guy in AJ Mitchell that's going to be part of their next version of this core that gets to continue to play for titles. He was outstanding tonight. He's looked great. He had 16 points in 15 minutes in the first game against Houston, and now tonight in double overtime finishes with 26 points in 38 minutes. Just looks like a real contributor. So really impressed by him tonight.
Yeah, the big thing with him is the ability to play both on and off ball. When he was at UC Santa Barbara, he was like exclusively on the ball. And that's what made that's why he went in the second round. Honestly, was like, this question is, okay, is he good enough to play on the ball? And can he consistently find cutting lanes? Can he consistently play off the ball, knock down shots from 3? and he's just done it all
to
this point in his career. And he's obviously incredibly skilled with the ball. I had Mitchell as a first round grade that year. Like I loved AJ. I thought he was a stud. We had him on the show that year. Just like a kid that has this, it's not a cockiness. It's like this laid back confidence where he just straight up in his brain knows that he's good enough, but it's just this like cool, like he's just a really cool dude. That's what the vibe is that you get when you talk to him. And I think he kind of plays like that too. Like he knows where he's supposed to be all the time. He knows what a good cut is. Like, I think that's the thing that has stood out in the first two games the most is the cutting. He has been fantastic cutting off the ball every single time somebody helps off of him to go help on to Shea or go help on to one of their drivers, right? If they feel like he's the worst offensive option on the court, they might try and use him for help reasons. And it's just like, no, you can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. He's too good. He's too skilled. Also had a couple of nice passes tonight. I think he had good manipulation with his eyes in transition one time, kind of sent the corner man up to the wing and then hit a corner kick out for an easy three. Had an awesome ball screen pass to Shea, or not to Shea, to Hartenstein on an early pass that was really good. Then he had like a really, really good finish tonight. He's always been an amazing finisher at the rim for someone that small over Talon Peter and Tony Bradley. AJ Mitchell's a stud. I think he's so good. I think he is like a starting quality player in the NBA potentially at some point. Might be there given the first two games of the year, but we'll see if he can keep this up. But I think at some point in his career, we're going to see what he can look like as a starter.
Hopefully not in Wally Pipp fashion, because I feel very bad for J-Dub if that happens.
Let's talk about Indiana, though, because Indiana was so fun tonight, and they're always fun, and they're always great. And I think that what is so cool about this offense is that you can see immediately the difference that having Tyrese Halliburton makes versus having some of these other guards, right? But you have no Halliburton tonight. Nembhard gets hurt in the first half. Can't remember. I think it was the second quarter. And they just run out different dudes. Like Talon Peter played 17 minutes. Ben Shepherd played a bunch of minutes as like a nominal, like point-ish guard, right? And they just play their scheme. They play their style. Like this was the game almost more than anything where I was like, yeah, Rick Carlisle's just he's very clearly one of the two best coaches in the league. Like he might be, if you want to make a case, Rick Carlisle's the best coach in the league, I'm for that. I think it is completely reasonable. And this game was yet another example to me because you just come out and it's like, okay, we're going to do our thing. We're going to run. We're going to get into offense early. We're going to move the ball quickly. And when guys like Mathurin and, Nembhard when he was in, but particularly Mathurin tonight, want to get downhill and try and drive, we're going to do that too.
And it really showed, like I was in the fourth quarter when it's a close game, they're back and forth. It really showed how their system and their infrastructure allows for Carlisle to do this, or maybe it's more the opposite, like the proof of concept that they're without Halliburton, of course. They're without Nesmith because he fouls out. They're without Nembhard because he got hurt in the first half. And you're watching them go toe to toe with OKC down the stretch, and it's like that's Ben Shepherd, that's Jarris Walker, that's like this isn't the level that you would expect a team to be able to hang around with the defending champs and a team we're all expecting to win 64, 65 games this year. And just like you said, the way that they play and the proof of concept of what they've built, it's why, look, I have to bring in the Knicks perspective here. Watching that conference final, I end up being just so impressed that they're able to go in the last game or the further into the playoffs or one of the last games of the season, even further into their rotation and into their depth to find productivity. And as guys in this game, like Obi Toppin is playing 40 minutes. And as you said, Ben Shepherd is playing 39 minutes. And yeah, shout out to Dayton, as Sam has a Dayton shirt on for this episode. Just it remains impressive that they're able to kind of suddenly spawn guys, like respawn. Oh, here's a rotation player just out of nowhere. TJ,
either is the thing too.
TJ McConnell's not playing. That's right. Yeah. And like what they're doing with Mathurin is so fascinating because he's like, in my opinion, he's like very clearly meant to be like your spark plug scorer off the bench. And Carlisle's just said, do that for as long as you can. Like, he had a ton of usage tonight, got to the line when he could, and just they rode the Mathurin train as long as they could until he fouled out. Finishes with, 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 1 assist. Like, very clearly was just in to get his points. And Carlisle's like, you know what? That'll work because we're going to need somebody to score tonight. And you're going to see, I'm positive the next game, if he starts off cold, he'll go down to like 22 minutes or so. Okay, Nesmith, it's your turn. And it's the everybody eats type of offense that, sometimes it doesn't work because you do need some alphas at the end of the day. But in a season where you're just kind of gathering information, it makes it from a fan probably more fun to watch because there's mystery in who's going to be the guy tonight. So I agree. Very impressed by their ability to hang around and still look like, maybe this won't be as lost a season as it could potentially be.
I will say, I think he is like an alpha personality. Like, he definitely
does he think he's
that.
An alpha for sure? Yeah.
Like, and like, honestly, they need somebody like that. Like, even if you say Siakam is that, and I think Siakam was amazing tonight. We're going to talk about that in a second. But like, I actually do think that they need somebody like that who's going to like just take control and be like, fuck it, I'm getting downhill right now.
Right.
Like, try and stop me, please. Go ahead. Or I'm going to cut and I'm going to try and get to the rim and I'm going to try and get to the line. Go for it. I'm athletic enough to do it. I think that they need somebody who's going to get paint touches because, without TJ McConnell, especially right now, but like Nembhard is not like a crazy paint touches guy, right? Like, he likes to operate in the mid range and it's totally great. Like, he knows how to pass and play make and get to those little like turnaround jumpers that he likes, but they do need somebody who's going to put some pressure on the rim. So I think that worked well. Siakam tonight, I thought was just immaculate. And it's so funny when we talk about all these like all NBA guys, right? And the guys we think are going to make all NBA for the first time and, predictions for all NBA. And we didn't do predictions for all NBA this year, but like, his name is just always going to get forgotten until game 81 or game 79 or whatever. And it's like, oh shit, like Pascal Siakam's been amazing this year. Like, maybe he is an all NBA player. Right. And tonight it was just consistent after consistent play where he just wrecked mismatches time after time. He had his jump shot going as well. He had like a fun little ghost Nesmith screen into a pull up in transition for Pascal. He had like a little early jumper from like 20 feet over Chet. Like, the big thing for him tonight is they didn't have J-Dub. So he just felt like, okay, I can go create mismatches on Aaron Wiggins, on, whatever guard we have in. If AJ Mitchell is in, right? Like, I'm going to be able to go and create a shot in some way, shape, or form. And he's such a good driver. His game is really quite complete now as an overall offensive player because he has the jumper. He has the ability to drive, obviously. He's a good passer. I wouldn't say he's a great passer, but he's certainly a good passer now. And he finishes at the rim and takes advantage of those mismatches because of how athletic he is. So just an outstanding player. Could have been even better if he didn't go 5 for 12 from the line, but 32, 15, and 4 was great. I mean, anything else that you have takeaways from?
No,
here?
the Siakam shot making down the stretch, he's just shooting over like Chet or Hardenstein or whatever player they put on him. Hits the big two to put it to tie it at the end of regulation to send it eventually into overtime. Just like you said, an all-star, probably will be their all-star if they get one this year, and sometimes the forgotten all-NBA candidate at the end of the day. And very intrigued to see where we both had their over just based off of infrastructure. I think for Indiana, I'm very curious to see in this conference what they eventually, like, how this plays out over the course of 82 games.
Yeah, I'm really interested to watch their defense because their breakneck pace often can lead to like cross matches in transition and things like that on offense, like going back to defense. Right. And I do wonder if without like a center there, like Miles Turner, to be able to like pick up some pieces. And I think Miles was okay on defense for the last year and a half he was in Indiana. I don't think he was like amazing or anything comparatively to what he'd been previously. like Isaiah Jackson looked fairly unplayable tonight. Hopefully that changes. Obi Toppin's just not a great defender. On the interior, he's gotten way better in terms of being able to understand actions off the ball and being able to guard on the ball a little bit. But, he's just not overly big and not overly long, right? So that's an issue. They just don't have a lot of guys that take up a lot of space on the interior. Like it might actually have to be Jay Huff at some point if he can figure out a way to make that work. They were a +6 tonight when Huff was on the court. That was actually better than everybody else on the team outside of Mathurin. So, I wonder how they're able to kind of mix and match the center position to be able to kind of dissuade paint touches from other teams. Cause that tonight felt like the big bugaboo for them.
Before I believe it's an ad break next, but before we get there, can I take you on a little history lesson back to the last game we talked about, the Aaron Gordon performance real quick?
I thought you were going to give me a Liberty basketball lesson for Talon Peter.
No. The shout, obviously shout out Liberty. And that's how that sentence will end. Aaron Gordon became the 6th player in NBA history to have 50 points in a basketball game on 21 shots or less. And he's the only one to make it on 6 free throw attempts, or what is it? 8 free throw attempts, whatever he finished with. But it's less than 10. And the other 5 players to have at least
one of them has to be Clay.
No, Klay Thompson, apparently. So this is according to Basketball Reference. I'll go pull up his, he might have taken more than 21 field goal attempts is the thing. He might have taken more attempts in that game, because normally the thing that happens when you get up to 50 points is 25 attempts, 30 attempts in the game. And a lot of these performances we're talking about. So I'll start with Will Barton, who had 50 points on 19 field goal attempts, 28 free throws attempted in this game. There's a notorious Giannis 50-point game where he had 18 free throw attempts against these very Indiana Pacers, only 21 field goal attempts taken in this game. I believe this is the Ballgate game where he wanted the ball after the game, and then the Pacers no, it's our ball. Someone had their first points. Yeah. It's either that one or it's that might have been when he got his career high with 30 free throws, 60 points. Regardless, and Adrian Dantley has the fewest field goal attempts on a 50-point game. He had 17 field goal attempts, 26 of 29 from the free throw line in this game. And then in 2022, Brooklyn against Charlotte, Kyrie Irving, remember when he used to play for Brooklyn, had 50 points on 19 field goal attempts. And then Dame Lillard against Portland in 2021, 50 points on 20 field goal attempts. All of these guys had at least 13 free throw attempts in this game. And then, of course, you have Aaron Gordon tonight. I believe he was either 6 of 6 or 8 of 8. I already X'd out of the tab, but yeah, it's why I kept staring at it. He should probably shoot more shots down the stretch, because this is a historic performance that we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, look, Golden State, because a lot of the actions for Denver typically revolve around 1-5 ball screen at the top, 1-5 DHO at the top with Jokic and Murray. And then they have Gordon kind of run the baseline, right? And they kind of try and high-low the defense, right? And you short roll with Jokic and you make that defender try and step up and make a choice on Gordon, right? And that's where he scores a lot of his buckets. I think Golden State did a really good job of kind of staying at home and making it a little bit more confusing, but also being able to force Jokic into difficult shots as well. I thought Golden State was really impressive tonight. The battle, the scratch, the claw. I thought they were really good tonight. Really, really good. But to your point, yeah, I think that, there were times in the third quarter where Aaron Gordon brought the ball up the court. So you can invert this stuff too. And they, kind of chose not too late for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm going through, I wrote down 4 or 5 instances down the stretch where I was Aaron Gordon, he's open. And especially in overtime when they were trying to get back in it when Golden State. But to your point, this may also just be Golden State being really good, and potentially that's just who knows when Aaron Gordon's going to be making 10 threes in a basketball game later in the future. And you're actually going to have to worry about that from a process standpoint for Denver.
Yeah. Okay. Shout out to Momentous. Most supplements are just a guessing game. You never know what's in them or if they're even tested for label accuracy. That's why I trust Momentous. Their creatine is NSF certified for label transparency and trusted by pro athletes. So I know I'm getting the best. Look, I've talked a lot on the show about how I have ADHD and it can be hard to focus sometimes. Creatine is certainly a very helpful thing in regard to focus. It is absolutely not just for gaining muscle. Smaller doses of creatine can like really, really help in terms of focus. And it is like essential daily fuel for your brain and body and long-term performance as well. With over 2,000 5-star reviews, over 112,000 customers have seen the results firsthand. Their travel packs make staying consistent effortless. They now have a lemon flavor as well. They're naturally flavored, perfectly portioned, and easy to mix with water anytime. With Momentous, the fundamentals are done right. Right now, Momentous is offering our listeners 35% off your first subscription order with promo code GAME. That's GAME. Go to Live Momentous, LIVEMOMENTOUS.com. Promo code GAME for up to 35% off your first subscription order. That's livemomentous.com. Promo code GAME. Okay, so let's talk about this gambling thing now. So this morning, aka overnight while I was sleeping, this was fun to wake up to. You know how I know things are a big story, Andrew?
How?
When I go to the gym at 6 a.m. and I look up on the screen and Kash Patel is on the screen explaining gambling arrests in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
It made it to the morning news here in Australia, is how we know that this is a thing. So this morning, Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, and former Cleveland Cavalier Damon Jones were among 31 people who were arrested in connection with gambling rings. The one that I think will get the most, I don't know. I mean, so the one that I think will get the most publicity is the Rozier side, because it is in regard specifically to like competition. The Billups side is like almost more unforgivable to me, honestly, and I'll explain why. All of this is allegations. I think it's really, really important to note that like a lot of the time, in my opinion, the media will run with the narrative that is being displayed by the Justice Department, by, the charging officers in situations, or district attorney's offices, right? And really what those people are trying to do is they're trying to build a case, right? They're trying to get a conviction because they do believe that these people are guilty, right? But, in the American criminal justice system, the other side, the defense, does get a chance. So I do think it's worth noting that this is the case that is being alleged right now by the Department of Justice and by the FBI, which is why Kash Patel was there. Rozier allegedly was arrested in regard to fixing player props by telling people he would leave the game in the first quarter of a game, March 23rd, 2023. He told a gentleman named De Niro Laster that he was going to prematurely remove himself in the first quarter due to a supposed injury. The government alleges that Rozier did this for the purpose of enabling Laster to place wagers based on this info. Laster then sold the information to others, including some people that were ultimately charged with this crime as well. This kind of goes back a little bit. It's worth noting. So like, this came out in January that this was being investigated. According to a David Purdom article on ESPN on July 18th, sources told ESPN that multiple sportsbooks in New Orleans also received heavier than expected action on the under on Rozier props starting in the morning and lasting until the mid-afternoon. At 2:24 p.m., the day of the game, U.S. Integrity, which is a non-governmental entity, but someone that works with sportsbooks essentially, sent a nationwide alert about suspicious wagering on Terry Rozier NBA player props, according to documents that ESPN obtained. And then if you go back to the NBA and go back to January 2025, the thing that is a little bit confounding to me about this. And, again, I'll explain how this could happen at the end of the day in a second. But the NBA and their spokesperson, Mike Bass, stated in March 2023, the NBA was alerted to unusual betting activity related to Terry Rozier's performance in a game between Charlotte and New Orleans. The league conducted an investigation and did not find a violation of NBA rules. We are now aware of an investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York related to this matter and have been cooperating with that investigation. So the fact that like the NBA investigated this and everything, this is not news. Like this came out in January. I saw some people like trying to like say that, oh, this is new news. The NBA, did this. Windhorse talked about this. Windhorse was not presenting it as new news, to be clear, but talked about this and said like, here's the thing. Like the NBA investigated this. Like they got sent the day of that this happened. That this like there was unusual wagering activity, right? So that one is complicated is its own thing, and obviously is incredibly problematic for the league. The Chauncey Billups one is something slightly different, but we will talk about that momentarily in terms of like how he may or may not, depending on who you believe co-conspirator 8 is, who is a resident of Oregon, played in the NBA from 1997 to 2014, and has been coaching since 2021. Depending on who you think that might be. He is not named in the other one or in the prop fixing scheme. Billups was arrested due to fixing poker games. And I don't know that I really care to get into like all the details on the poker stuff because this is a basketball show. And as much as it's interesting to me on the poker side as someone that like has played a lot of poker in my life, I don't know that we need to like totally dig into it beyond just saying that like, look, Terry Rozier, like by doing what he did, like defrauded gambling companies potentially, right? And we should never allow this. The integrity of the game is incredibly important. I don't want to excuse anything that Terry Rozier did. But if what Chauncey Billups was allegedly involved in is true, and again, allegations, this is like, this is way worse to me. Because what was happening within this ring is they basically were, giving certain players at the table like access to the whole cards and access to like the cards that were going to come up. So essentially, like they were just cheating people out of money. Like they weren't cheating a big business gambling company that makes a crazy amount of money out of money. They were cheating like human beings out of money. So, hopefully this is not true. And Chauncey did not know anything about this, but look, he's been arrested and he is being charged with this, right? Like this is bad. This is very, very bad. Damon Jones is involved in both of these things, which is bad for Damon Jones, seemingly. There are a lot of angles I want to kind of talk about with this, but I'll just kind of give you the floor. I've kind of laid it all out now. Where are you at on this?
Definitely a stunning morning. I'm going to try and be as graceful as possible in talking about the Terry Rozier arrest and the announcement and the report when it happened and say I was shocked. A lot of jokes flying around. That's usually what I default to when it comes to any type of news is where's the funny? Because it just helps me personally to process things through humor. And
sure.
Shout out my buddies at the Miami Heat beat that were like, oh, so that explains what Rozier's performance has been over the last year. And it's funny to allude to that, but then you actually read the allegations and the fact that, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason he was not like suspended by the NBA or really reprimanded by the NBA in any way is that he didn't have to turn over his phone to the NBA. But when
I believe he did turn.
So
over
he
his
did
phone.
turn over his phone. So then I'm a little confused as to how the NBA doesn't do anything to him, allowed him to be an active player, and then the FBI when they conclude their investigation, that arrests him, and this charge and allegation and then becomes something a little more concrete and serious, because it seems very cut and dry and similar to the Jonte Porter situation when it comes to Terry Rozier.
Yeah. So first and foremost, both Rozier and Billups have denied doing these things.
Right.
I want to be clear about that and just make sure that people know that. This one's hard because look, like the NBA doesn't have subpoena powers, right?
Right.
Like the FBI has subpoena powers. Like the government can force you and compel you to testify in some way, shape, or form. People can just tell the NBA, like, no, we're not talking to you. Like, you know, De Niro, Laster, or whatever. Like he can just go to the NBA and just be like, no, fuck off. Like I'm not talking to you. You know what I mean? But like, you can't really do that with the government. You can plead the fifth, but like, that's not going to go well in all likelihood if you do that. So, to me, like, I can understand a little bit in regard to the NBA not getting this, but I can't fully understand it. And like whether this is by far the biggest issue to me is that the NBA investigated this, and if it comes back that this is accurate and Terry Rozier like does go to prison or whatever, this is a real problem to me. Mm-hmm. Where the NBA really has to get a handle on this. Maybe like if you have any questions, you do hold him out of competition. They held him out of competition seemingly for the rest of the year, that season, but or last season, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh no, he played. Terry Rozier played down the stretch. There was like a much to the ire of Miami Heat fans that he would check in every second quarter, and it was like, oh, there goes our lead. You know?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but I think that you probably need to be very conservative on when you let these guys back onto the court. Like if they're involved in an FBI investigation, I'm sorry, like your team will have to pay them, but you can't play, I don't think. And look, like you could, you know, say that this gets really complicated and that could impact play on the court in a myriad ways and everything. Like, you know, someone could try and frame somebody for this and they're getting investigated by the FBI. I get it. Like that's a whole thing, but this is a lot of evidence for this one. Like, yeah, this seems like a lot of evidence here for this one. And yeah, like maybe the NBA like needs to create better relationships with the FBI to like understand, okay, look, I get it. The FBI like might not tell you, you might not be able to do this, but like, give us the way that the tea leaves are going here. Right. Like, let's understand this a little bit better. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, there's almost 3 issues at hand, and 2 of them are in a vacuum, and then there's just like a big picture conversation to have. Like there's the Terry Rozier allegation and charge, which is about manipulating the end of or the outcome of a sporting event. Because while yes, he was potentially cheating, getting money and cheating the sport and cheating gambling companies. Anybody that bet a Terry Rozier over that night is also out money. Correct. So it's like also the people partaking in these games and what's supposed to be, you know, fair wages and fair gaming. He loses that as well. Then there's the Chauncey Billups vacuum. That's like, it's not really a basketball story. It's a morality story. And like you hear the mafia is involved. That's more of a like, oh, what that individual did in this particular instance that has nothing really to do with basketball, but it does have to do with like the character of this person and what potentially happened. And we can potentially look at it as not part of the NBA. Now the co-conspirator 8 thing with Damon Jones and LeBron sitting out at night and the action that got put on LeBron James unders is or I guess Lakers unders that night or anti-Lakers Bucks money lines, like that element of it, we'll still have to wait and see what happens. But as far as what we know from the Chauncey Billups situation, that's kind of a wait and see from a morality standpoint. The bigger thing for me, Sam, and look, I say this openly as someone with a very good relationship with a sports book over at Knicks Film School. I also we just did over-unders for the NBA this year. I just watched a ton of League Pass on games presented by the FanDuel Sports Network. This has become a thing that has completely put its arms around the NBA, and the NBA has hugged it right back, allowing sports betting into the sport. And
so there are reasons for that I want to talk about, but go ahead. And
I just the understanding going into any of this and the big picture growing pains that could get dangerous with the NBA welcoming, sports gambling and sports betting into its world. I think we're seeing some of the growing pains now. I personally do think anything can be used like this, as much as people, I know there's a stigma on sports gambling. Some people will never be comfortable with it. Anything can be used for damage and be used when it's used in excess or irresponsibly. There are a ton of beer commercials and alcohol commercials during games. You use that in excess or irresponsibly, damage can happen. There's a ton of fast food commercials during games. And if you do use that in irresponsibly, you can cause damage. I think this is it's showing the NBA and really all sports leagues are in their infancy in figuring out how the best way is to police it. And today was one of those days that shows that it's still figuring out, how to fully execute so that way things like this don't happen more often.
Yeah. So look, I say this as somebody I'm not allowed to bet on basketball,
right?
At this point, due to working for the New York Times and the Athletic and everything, we have a policy that I can't bet on basketball. I do still bet on golf. I bet on things pretty regularly with golf, right? So I come at this from, I do gamble. You know what I mean? I think that the biggest thing here with basketball particularly is that basketball is by far the easiest sport to do this with, right? Because of the impact that one person can have on the result. It's just way bigger than any of the other team sports. Hockey, there are 5 players on the court, but they play 20 minutes a night. Maybe 30 if you're a defenseman. NFL players, there are 11 players on the court or on the field. It's just way harder to have that impact. Soccer, there's 11 players on the field, way harder to have that kind of singular impact unless you're a goaltender, right? But even then, the other team has to get the ball down the field and take shots at you. Baseball, you bat 4 times, 5 times in a game. Maybe if you're a starting pitcher, but even then you're probably going to get pulled if it's truly, you might get pulled early if it's truly catastrophic, right? So basketball is just the thing because they play such a high percentage of the minutes. They're involved in so many different things on a play-by-play basis, and there are only 5 people on the court. Even referees, right? Referees to me have an outsized impact on basketball comparatively to other sports. And because they just make so many calls throughout the course of a game. NFL referees, they don't make as many calls because there are just fewer plays that happen throughout the course of a game, right? So this is always a thing that is acute to basketball, in my opinion. Now, to your point about gambling and putting your arms around gambling, part of the issue with this is that the reason that this organization US Integrity exists and notifies sports books is because really what happened when the Supreme Court struck down the law that said federally sports gambling is illegal. It didn't make sports betting legal. It just no longer is illegal, which means it then fell to the states to be able to, have its board for gaming, right? And to enforce different laws and to enforce the way that they want to enforce gaming within those states. This is bad for basketball. This is bad for leagues like the NBA. It makes it way harder to pick up on when players are doing the wrong things. That's a bit information and getting information from sports books is a big part of why you partner with these sports books. If you're the NBA, it helps you actually pick up on these things when they happen. It's how the NBA was notified very, very quickly when Terry Rozier had, this happen, and there was unusual activity on Terry Rozier unders that night. That's how the NBA gets notified so fast, right? So unless you have like a national regulatory body of some sort, the best way to actually regulate this is kind of by the leagues partnering with the sports books so that they find out when things are nefarious in some way, shape, or form, right? So that's kind of like piece number one of it. And then number two with it is that, like, I don't think that this really has like anything to do with the proliferation of like gambling ads or everything we see like courtside. You know what I mean? Like at an NBA game. Those are for like, recreational gamblers, right? You're trying to recruit people who like don't gamble into gambling, right? The people who are involved here live in that world already.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like a thing that happens regular. Like this isn't like a, oh yeah, some guy bet $20 on a game because Terry Rozier, they just opened a sportsbook account, and the people that they got $50 free to place a bet. Right.
The Jonte Porter situation wasn't like someone bet $100 on the Jonte Porter under. It was like tens of thousands of dollars are being wagered, and yes, in Terry Rozier's situation, hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is a different level than like you said, the recreational gambling that the NBA and a lot of sports partners are trying to bring into the conversation.
Yeah. So like, to me, the fact that legalization of gambling and like, everything like that goes into it. I've seen a lot of people make the case, oh, we should go back to, making sports gambling illegal in the United States. Right. And I just don't agree with that, because to me, the whole reason that this gets caught and that this gets found out is because of the legalization and because of the fact that these sports books partner with the NBA, right? Let's strike the second part, right? Because of the fact that it's legal, which means there are regulatory bodies, maybe not federally, but in some respect looking at this stuff and pointing it out to the NBA. But it's then on the NBA to be able to act. And in this case, they seemingly made a mistake by not acting.
Right.
In some respect, wherever it was, maybe they didn't. Maybe they have better information than the NBA, than the FBI. Like, who the hell knows, right? Again, innocent until proven guilty on some level, right? So that piece of it is what's a little bit tricky about this. Now, like, I've seen people saying that we should just no longer have player props. Player props are like very, very profitable for sports books. So I don't know if they're going to be real excited about removing those. I think that like I guess like, do people think the player props like just got invented? Like, they used to just live on offshore books that weren't regulated and nobody knew when things like this would happen. Right. Like, do we want to go back to a world where we don't know? Like, is it the sight out of mind is better? I personally don't think so. So, that doesn't feel totally right to me. I think what I would be in favor of is like reducing the number of player props that are available in some respect and making it so that, it's like star level players that you can do player props for. I think that would be okay, honestly. But, maybe you can't bet on Jonte Porter player props, or frankly, even like Terry Rozier, who that year was probably like the 150th best player in the NBA or whatever he was at the time. Right. Like, right. It may probably worse in the grand scheme, but in terms of like points and things like that, like box score production, is what it is. So Yeah, like I think that like people are gonna make this like a blanket gambling is bad thing, and I don't really think that that's what this story is to me. To me, it's the NBA needs to figure out its investigation unit and figure out that shit fast and figure out like what's going on there. And then on top of it, the NBA needs to figure out a way to build back trust with its fan base and with its community that it's built, because the integrity of the game is so incredibly important to this. That's kind of where I'm at this point, Andrew.
Yeah, no, I think you're hitting it right on the head, and again, in the most self-aware thing I'm going to say, because I understand my relationship with the sports book that Knicks Film School has partnered with. But like my pick for the other night was a Deuce McBride 2+ made threes. He hit 4. So I ended up hitting on that pick. But like, to your point, should Deuce McBride be available for a prop bet? This is, like you said, this is a very profitable arm for a lot of sports books, especially when you're able to do a lot of these live and in the moment. I think what this is really hinting at, and you just said it, is it's on the league, it's on these states, it's on all these things that the U.S. government has decriminalized. It's now then on these different bodies to legislate, to regulate. And it's where my question more goes to the NBA and not the overall stigma or overall entity of sports betting, that it's your responsibility and that we should like this bad, make evil go away. No, if the NBA is going to do this, it has to do it responsibly. And look, I also, just from a personal standpoint, like I gamble as well, but I also know my limits. You know, you and I have talked about this as we've gotten to know each other. I don't drink alcohol because I don't trust myself with I make enough irresponsible decisions sober. So why would I then add something that could potentially make my judgment even worse? And I don't judge people that do drink alcohol. Like my wife loves a cocktail when she needs to wind down, but I just know that that's my limits. That's my regulation of myself. And as individuals with free will, I believe that it's on the person and the individual to determine.
This is also what I believe.
Right. So as a result, yes, could the NBA legislate and police this significantly better? And again, while they're still in the very early years of this being part of their day-to-day and year-to-year operations, I'll say, there are going to be incidences like this. But this wasn't a couple people that are friends with Terry Rozier put even like a couple $100 on. This is levels and levels above, to the point where the FBI was flagged by this. So I don't think they're even in the same conversations. My only real question is why the NBA, with what seemed to be similar evidence, didn't act. But maybe over the next few weeks, we'll start to hear what more information the FBI might have had over the NBA instead, and why there's the gap in action taken.
I think that's the biggest question with this here by far.
Yeah,
it is 100% the biggest question is what is going on with the NBA that they didn't figure this out, or maybe they did and maybe they're the ones that are right. Like again, like innocent until proven guilty. I want to be like very clear about that. But now you're suspending Terry Rozier again for the second time, basically, it seems like, for what's happening here. And that makes it I think it makes them look bad. It does. It just does make them look bad at the end of the day. So, okay. That's really all I've got on that right now. I mean, we'll see how this plays out moving forward. Again, I would imagine that we're going to have court cases and all of that stuff. Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier, if they want to regain their careers in basketball, are going to have to fight this strenuously, would be my read.
I think they're going to have to win too, personally. I don't know if there's even like a plea deal that's like, no, we'll admit Rozier, to something. No, you're going to have to win your innocence back, unfortunately.
100%. He will have to win, or else I would guess that the NBA will ban him, much like they did Jonte Porter. Bingo. Right. Chauncey Billups, I don't know what to do with that yet in terms of the poker ring. Like that is more offensive to me as a human, but like it doesn't, depending on the identity of co-conspirator 8, does not necessarily lead to a circumstance where it impacts the results of the game. At least what he's charged with does not impact the results of basketball.
Right. Like what I'm saying about Billups is if he is co-conspirator 8, then again, I don't know if he would have to prove he's not, and it'll have to come out that he isn't. Again, very descriptive resume, co-conspirator 8. But I don't think you can ban, like there's NBA punishment to be had for the gambling ring and the poker games that were allegedly being fixed. It's just like, I don't know what team is potentially hiring someone with that type of character question. If all of this is proven to be true, again, we will let them both have their day in court and then make a judgment call later.
Yeah, I think that's right. The other kind of thing just worth noting here, like, oh, what if the argument is like, oh, what if they just like accidentally leaked this information by accident, right? That's really hard for me too, because, you know, the NBA like does a good job of educating these guys. Like they do a lot to make sure these guys know, like, don't let people, you know, make bets based on insider information kind of things, right? Like they really, really try to let these players know that this is like not something that you can do. So like, I do find it hard to believe that the players wouldn't be educated on this as well. So I just wanted to note that as well. Okay. Let's go back in time. Let's go to yesterday's games that occurred. And I think where we have to start is where everybody started, every podcast in the world, I'm sure today. Victor Wembanyama. It was funny. I was texting Russillo earlier and he tweeted out that he thought that the game Wemby played is one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. That's what Ryan said. And it was like, you know, I hadn't like watched the whole game yet. I was still like kind of getting through it. And I was like, man, like that feels aggressive. And then I like watched the entire game and I was like, oh my God, Ryan's right. Like, oh my God. Like I literally texted him. I was like, I thought you were crazy when you sent this tweet. And then I like really dug in and oh my God, you're right. Like this is insane. So Wemby goes for, what was it? 41 and 15. Right?
Yep. 0 turnovers, shot over 70%. I think 15 for 21 from the field. To back up Ryan's point, I'm looking for the stat now. It's the only time that this has ever happened since turnovers have been tracked, that a guy had 0 turnovers, 40-15 and shot 70% from the field. So it is literally a once in a lifetime thing that has never happened before.
Yeah, and the Spurs win by 33 points against a truly catastrophic Dallas team in that game. And we'll talk about them in a second too, because I want to talk about Cooper and how they're using Cooper. But like, Victor goes for 40 and 15 is what it was. He has 3 blocks. The 3 blocks just pale in comparison to what his defensive importance was in this game. Like he was unbelievable on defense. He was everywhere on the defensive end. Contested so many shots that didn't go down as blocks. His presence just dissuades so much penetration on the interior. The impact that he has on both ends of the court is just truly staggering. But the big thing that stood out to me in this game, and it's why if I was like the rest of the league, I would be truly terrified right now. He is able to not just like deal with contact. He is dishing out contact now and like moving guys back. There were possessions where he moved Anthony Davis, early season Anthony Davis, who makes it a point to have on extra weight because he knows, you know, that throughout the year he's going to lose weight. I saw people like say that was bullshit earlier. Anybody that talks to players knows that like it's really hard to keep on weight throughout the year. a lot of the time, especially for those guys that are really naturally skinny. So that actually tracked to me with Anthony Davis, that he does kind of carry weight. But the fact that Victor just was moving him backward, having that extra weight on him, is ludicrous. It is completely ludicrous to me. The run that he had in the second half, like to start the second half, where he blocks a shot from Cooper Flag, then gets a deflection into a steal off of like a Cooper lob, where Cooper like tried to hit, I think, Derek Lively on a lob. Then he like leads the fast break into a nasty look away kick out for a corner three. Then the next possession down on offense, he hits like a nasty step through like Euro kind of vibe on Lively as he gets into a beautiful floater, with his inside right hand. Then he like swats Derek Lively's shot with, I think, his wrist. Like, do you want to call it like a block with his wrist? And then comes down the court, brings the ball up, goes between the legs, inside out, ankle breaker crossover, crosses back, behind the back dribble, long step back into a three, drills it, and Lively lands in his landing space for an and one. I was just like, I tweeted this, but I was like, I don't think I've ever been more stunned by like a sequence. Like, I don't know if it's the best sequence I've ever seen in my life, but it's the sequence where in my head I'm going, this human being is 7'5". No other human being that is that big has ever moved like this before. Point blank. Has had this kind of handle, has had this kind of dexterity as a shooter. People will bring up like Wilt Chamberlain. Get the fuck out of here. Wilt Chamberlain was shooting like 50% from the line. Like, this is completely different. It is ludicrous watching him play right now. And we haven't seen him since like the All-Star break last season. It's been like 8 months or whatever. He leveled up again. It boggles my mind. He had like a sweep through jab step on PJ Washington, where he then pump fake, not jab step, pump fake on PJ Washington. PJ bites, and then he goes and hits like a reverse up and under dunk and gets fouled.
I was waiting for you to mention that. It was my favorite play of the night. Yeah.
I don't know what you do with him now. Honestly, like he's gonna have nights where he doesn't shoot like this, obviously, but like if he's strong now and can deal with contact and actually like dole it out, I don't know what you do with him now, actually.
So to close the loop, 40 points, 15 rebounds, 75% true shooting, and 0 turnovers in a game. It's the first time that's ever happened since turnovers were first tracked in the 1970s. Victor Wembanyama did that. End of list. So I did some texting with some people today. We'll just call the people I talked to not Russillo, because I don't have Brian Russillo's number. But in the 2 Wemby exchanges that I had about his performance on Wednesday, I think I said it on this show, but you've heard my movie comp for Wemby, that he's the Indoraptor in Jurassic World that gets loose and slowly starts to figure out where they land on the food chain as they go throughout the island.
Yeah.
And one of my close friends loved that reference, because I first brought that to the Knicks Film School audience after he dominated the Knicks on Christmas, even though it was a game the Knicks won on Christmas. And I said, like, it's a matter of time before he realizes where he lands on the food chain. And when he texted me last night, just was like, Wemby ... I responded with the Chris Pratt meme that just said, evacuate the island. That's where we're at with the NBA. Evacuate the island. I have like a baseball reference. Last game the Dodgers just played in the NLCS, Shohei Ohtani struck out 10 in 7 innings and hit 3 home runs. That was wow, because we have computed how difficult it is to hit 3 home runs, how difficult it is to also pitch. Like, we haven't seen that before, but there's an understanding of like the difficulty, what the feat is, because we have seen somebody hit a home run and we've seen somebody strike out a bunch of batters when you're a pitcher. Wemby doesn't invoke, oh, wow. It's, bro, what? Like,
yeah,
I didn't know someone that could do this. And to your point, he's not doing this to a scrub. That's Anthony fucking Davis that he's making look like a toddler. And like the other exchange that I had was, what team is best equipped? Like, actually tried to have a basketball conversation with me. It was like, what team is best equipped to stop that version of Wemby? My answer, Sam, the Avengers. Like, we don't have a team that's best equipped to stop.
Well, do you know what team would be in the top 5? The Dallas Mavericks.
Right. They have Anthony Davis
on the court.
Right. Like, you know, the other team, probably the Spurs. If they could potentially clone the Spurs, they could probably stop Wemby because they have Wemby. That's how, this isn't hyperbole. I'm with Rosillo. I'm with you. It's one of the more incredible performances. And if it's just like the beginning, then again, evacuate the island.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I think the thing that, like, beyond what I've talked about, like in terms of the strength that stood out for me, but it goes in conjunction with the strength, is like, he has a real face-up game now where like Anthony Davis would stonewall him, right? Like, it's not like AD like didn't provide resistance. Like, AD like worked his fucking balls off in that game defensively. Right. Like, he tried really hard, and like he would stonewall him. But whereas like last year, even in the year before, Victor would probably have to pick up his dribble that year, or like in terms of like not dealing with the contact well, right? He doesn't have to pick up his dribble now. Like, he keeps his dribble alive, and then he goes back into trying to slice him up. Like, he can counter off of different ways that defenders play him now. There's that possession in the second quarter where like AD stonewalls him twice. He does eventually pick up his dribble. Then he like pump fakes, like turnaround jumper, and just like splashes it when AD fouls him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I mean, like, don't foul him, but I don't know how you're supposed to stop him from missing the shot. You literally fouled him. Like, and look, I get it. He's not going to make all those shots, but yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's someone that has like Shaq's gravity with like Kevin Durant's bag, but with vertical spacing that I don't think we've ever seen because of how tall he is. And it's, again, they made him in a lab, and it's just so impressive and potentially generationally talented that we get to see this. I tried, like you said, to not be full hyperbolic. And then, because I was obviously, the Knicks played the first game of the doubleheader that night. I had post-game responsibilities. When I finally sat down to watch what everybody was talking about, I repeat, bro, what was my entire reaction to everything he did? And look, the only time I thought they had a hint of success, it was only a couple of possessions, was when they started blitzing him when he would get it at half court. And then you start to see the rest of the Spurs. You see Stephon Castle getting downhill in the short roll. You see what they're doing with Barnes and with Vassell, and like, imagine when Dylan Harper eventually gets going, when they get De'Aaron Fox back. Like, this is going to be, I don't know how, I know you've already talked about it with some of your projections and some of your predictions. I'm wondering if we should start to go even higher, if this is something he can sustain for a full season, because that did not look like a team that's like just a fun play-in story, you know?
They won by 33 points. Castle and Harper played 52 minutes and turned the ball over 9 times.
Goodness.
Like, Steph Castle was amazing in this game. Like, I thought he was awesome. I thought he did everything but shoot it well, basically. Like, he went 5 for 10 from the line, and he turned it over a little bit too often, I thought, too. But like, Steph was amazing in this game. Like, his point of attack defense was unbelievable. He made Cooper work for everything. Like, he was awesome as a cutter. He had some driving moments. He had incredible transition moments, both as a passer and as a scorer. Like, you say that, like, get downhill. It literally felt like at one point in the third quarter to me that like the court was tilted and like the Mavericks were like trying to bring the ball up the court, walking up a hill, and the Spurs were just like coming downhill at them at the same time. And it was just like, this is insane. This is completely ridiculous. I thought Castle was great. I thought Harper was okay for a debut. Like, I have no problems with what happened. Cooper Flagg is the other guy I want to talk about here. This Cooper Flagg experiment at point guard, I get why they're doing it. Let's get him some reps. Let's let him kind of explore the space or whatever. I don't think that's a game 1 thing that you do. I think that's a game 60 thing that you do when the season is over and you're experimenting and kind of letting guys who have already built up like a degree of confidence start to explore and have like some experience in the NBA. Rolling out Cooper at point guard, who has never played point guard, like at any level, as far as I know, maybe for the main, EYBL team that he had, like he brought the ball up the court, but like, he had smaller players with him that would also bring the ball up the court. Like making him do that in the NBA. And I thought he did fine, like bringing the ball up the court. The issue for me is more, you watch VJ Edgecombe, and we're going to talk a lot about VJ, right? Everything VJ did in game 1 was like as an off-ball scorer, right? And guys created shots for him to get open catch and shoot threes, or, other than the possession where he completely like crossed up Xavier Tillman and like detonated at the rim. Mostly it was, okay, if I'm driving, I'm taking advantage of like a heavy closeout, or I'm cutting to the rim or something like that, right? Or I'm making catch and shoot threes. He had a couple of like pull up, mid-range jumpers, but he had, we'll talk about however many points. I think he had 34 or whatever. And maybe like 6 to 8 of them were self-created. And the rest were, hey, we're going to work hard to get this guy shots. There was never a point last night outside of the first play of the second half where I felt like Dallas went in its bag to go get Cooper even an easy shot, because he's the one that's playing point. He's the one that's like forced to initiate the offense and get guys downhill. And he's fucking 18 years old playing against an alien on the interior and playing against like a Tasmanian devil and Steph Castle defensively. And like, you're not really running like a ton of off-ball action to get him loose and like get him, kind of free and, have him back cut to the rim. He's an amazing cutter. When he's playing point guard, you lose the offensive rebounding ability that makes him really, really good, in my opinion, as well. Like, because he's not going to, like, he has to be back on defense a lot of the time. Like, you already have Lively and AD there. Why would you have him crash? It actually genuinely frustrated me watching the Mavericks, because their offense was so grossly stagnant. And look, when you have literally, in my opinion, like 3.5 bigs in the starting lineup, or like big wings, four bigs or big wings in the starting lineup, only 2 of whom get guarded as 3-point shooters. And like, I don't know if Cooper's going to get guarded right now as a 3-point shooter at 18. PJ Washington's like hit or miss on whether or not he gets guarded. And then, oh, by the way, like the first guy off the bench was Najee Marshall. Like, Najee's not getting guarded out there. There's just like no space for anything. There's no, like, you want him to succeed at point guard, but then you're not putting spacers around him to actually allow him to get to the rim. This whole experiment is so brazenly silly to me. Like, I don't, and Cooper is like, everything I know about that dude intel wise is he is unflinchingly, unwaveringly confident. I do not think he will lose confidence in himself or in anything. Like, that would blow my mind based off of what I know about that dude. But it's just silly to me to have him out there and not try to generate him many easy shots and then force him to play point. They were so much better when Ryan Nembhard and D'Angelo Russell were on the court. Like, they were so much better. The offense, like, the ball moved, ball didn't stick. Like, D'Angelo Russell, the ball can stick a little bit, but even with him, like, it was like, all right, we're moving, we're running DHOs to get him to his left hand. Like, yeah, that was an immensely frustrating game from the Dallas Mavericks to me.
I defer to you on a lot of the Maverick side of things. I did think it was a bit clunky just from my perspective. I was kind of captured by the WEMBY show to fully notice how they're misusing Cooper. I will say, just from all the analysis that you and Bryce have given over the past year change about Cooper, I was a bit shocked to see no point guard on the floor. But hey, defense wins championships. They want to have the best backline of defense that they possibly can with Cooper out there. So we'll see what they do over the next couple months and how they deploy him differently. Yeah.
I would like to see some different things. Two of the other games I watched, we'll talk about Philly now, just because the Philly game, we talked about VJ. VJ was amazing in this game. I thought Maxey was unbelievable.
I was going to say, as much as we'll talk about VJ, the Maxey thing, and they have a very intriguing backcourt now. Like the three big notes that I wrote was VJ, wow, Maxey, and Embiid, which I think they kind of go in that order. But that really, really fun first quarter from VJ, 14 points, hit a couple of threes as well. It's cool.
Had like a 10-minute run in like a 2.5 minute span or something there.
Right.
Philly, where he had like the 2 dunks, drilled 2 threes to your
the line.
I thought he was, really, really good.
Yeah. No, I'll let you have the floor with VJ. I again don't have as much knowledge of him because of how you scouted him, but just from my first real experience watching him, I was, Philly's got a backcourt here. Like, this is something, if you're a Sixer fan and you're watching what's now happening to Embiid, we still have this backcourt to invest in for the rest of the season. Oh,
and they nailed the McCain pick last year too. He just needs to get back on the court. So like they have 3 of these guys now that are really, really fun. VJ in this game was really fun because again, he did it all off the ball, really. Like it was cutting, it was getting open threes. For whatever reason, they like really helped off of him a lot. I don't know if that was a scheme strategy. I wasn't in the Celtics locker room. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that, their strategy wasn't to help off VJ, but there was a lot of like same side kind of helping with like nail help on drives and things like that off of VJ, which I thought was interesting because VJ has always been a good catch and shoot guy. It's that the pull-ups are what's really bad for VJ in his past, not the catch and shoot stuff. Like he was 40% both years at Lou High. I think he was like 38 last year on catch and shoot threes. Like he will hurt you if you leave him open from 3 off the catch, particularly. I loved the crossover on Tillman. I thought that was really impressive. He had a couple of pull-up mid-range moments that I thought will look good. He went 2 for 5 on pull-up mid-range shots, according to Synergy. The fact that he took 5 in a game is great because like in high school, he like barely took mid-range jumpers, even, honestly. I still think the mechanics getting to the mid-range jumpers can be a little bit clunky. The footwork particularly, I think, is where he needs to improve. But, I had VJ at 4. I loved him. I love the player. I love everything with that dude. I'm just like never going to doubt him, really. I think that, he always struck me as a great, third option kind of thing more than anything. Not like a all-star, but maybe, again, like, the way this dude has improved basically every year since he's gotten to the United States, I don't put any ceiling past him. He's certainly athletic enough. He's certainly twitchy enough. The shooting is there. He gives a shit on defense in a big way. Like, I love VJ. The key is going to be, what does he become as a pull-up shooter? Because we saw some flashes from mid-range last night. Didn't take a pull-up 3 despite taking 13 threes. Again, Boston was kind of sagging off of him in a real way, it felt like, and he made them pay for doing it. Amazing opening game for VJ. Utterly amazing opening game, and I'm so happy for that dude. I mean, do you want to talk about Embiid? Because that was sad.
It was. And again, I'm saying this from the Knicks perspective, and the rivalry that we have built with Embiid, where he is not really welcome at any establishment in the Big Apple anytime soon. Even I, from an empathetic human standpoint, saw what he looked like and was like, "Oh, that's not like." Didn't take a shot in the paint. I think he took 1 jumper from the free throw line. Only played 20 minutes. Was playing 5-minute stints really, and then didn't play the fourth quarter. They were going with a lineup down the stretch, the Sixers, of VJ, Maxey, Quentin Grimes, Bartlow, and Kelly Oubre. Like, they just went without a center down the stretch, and Embiid looked slow. He wasn't really jumping, and it seemed like a guy on the other side of any hint of a prime that he had. Now, like, what you do with that, I think, is what you have to decide over the course of 82 games. But Yeah, this was not the most encouraging sign if you're just objective about like Embiid is back. That did not that look. It almost made me wonder, like, is he just like Clint Capella now? Which is like Clint Capella is a fine player, but what you're expecting from a Joel Embiid, I mean, even then, Clint Capella gets like down and dirty in the boards and can be more of a presence down low as a rim protector. You could even the Celtics were downhill and getting what they wanted in the paint all night on defense too. So yeah, it was unfortunate to see that that's what Joel Embiid is now.
Yeah, I mean, like they can't play him next game, right? Like it just didn't look like he was bad in this game. Like he couldn't move point blank. Like It was everything. Like even what's made him so special is the ability to like bend and the ability to like move so impressively, fluidly, coordinatedly. That's a word. Like it, all in, such beautiful synergy. All of his limbs looked like they were working in conjunction with one another. None of that looked real in this game. Like everything was so slow twitch. Like there was one where, let me look in the notes. Like I forget who ripped him, but somebody like just totally ripped him. It was like, oh, like there's just like everything here is moving so slow. It's like in slow motion. I mean, he was a minus 16 in a game that they won.
Yeah.
In his 20 minutes, like he had 4 points, he had 6 rebounds and 2 assists. It was, yeah. I mean, look, like he'll have games where he shoots better, I would imagine, which will really help. But I mean, defensively is what I'm worried about. And I like don't know what to do with, I mean, like Andre Drummond playing 3 minutes, like that looks cooked if he's playing 3 minutes in this one. Bona played 15. Like I thought he was active in his minutes at least. I wouldn't say he was like actively good, but like he was active and, at least brought a level of athleticism out there that was helpful. Dom Barlow was a superhero in this game for the 76ers. He was massive. Offensive rebounds, sharp, like, quick kickouts on offensive rebounds, was at least active around the rim. I think he had like a chase down block if memory serves, like 13 points. I thought he was awesome. And I've long been a Dom Barlow guy. I think I ranked him at like 45th or so in his year, draft wise. I think I was higher on him than, I don't know about everybody, but like at least, 90% of the draft community, just because I thought he would eventually be good. I had him low because I didn't think he'd be good for the first team necessarily. And that matters for me and for teams when they're drafting. Like, are you going to return us value or are we going to develop you for somebody else? But I always thought that he'd be an NBA player, at least at some point. I just thought it'd be at 25. And he honestly might be like a little bit early right now on that for where he is. That's a great two-way. I thought Jabari Walker gave him some good minutes. Like it was a little bit more hit or miss than Barlow, but a guy who can step away and shoot a little bit. He took a 3-point attempt, was active on the glass. Like those two guys being two-way guys is just so good for Philly. But yeah, like we'll see what they can be if Embiid is not, if Embiid is this, like it's a significant problem for them.
It didn't look like there was much more runway for this like the process Sixers. Like you want to take whatever they did last year to the full pivot. I don't know if I can call it a Portland pivot anymore after today's events, but like the full pivot to go get Edgecombe might bear more fruit than anything Hinkie and the process did in getting Joel Embiid. Now I understand Embiid MVP, all-time great player, whatever you want to call it. Like if doing what they did last year lands them VJ and they're able to just have a maxi VJ backcourt and move on or move past forward, I should say, from the Embiid experience into this, it's not the worst pivot in the world. And in fact, I would never be someone from Philadelphia, but should I theorize what it's like to be a Philadelphia fan today, being able to have the hope of that would make me not be happy that Embiid is what he is, or that we're going to have to move on from Embiid, but at least be able to say, well, there's clearly something to move on to. which makes, I guess, it easier to process, which pun intended.
Do you know what the really bad part about this is?
What?
They gave him that extension before last year.
Yeah. That Scalabrini made the point down the stretch. They had $100 million not playing in the fourth quarter between him and Paul George.
Paul George. Like, can you imagine? I mean, this team, like maybe Embiid's going to be fine and it's going to be fine. But like, if they hadn't given him that extension, that to me was always the mistake, was giving him the extension. I understood the Paul George thing, like take a shot on it. It's whatever. But, you know, giving Embiid an extension before you know what the health is, when you also had this summer to do the extension if you wanted to, like you didn't have to do it when you did it. That was always the one where I was like, this is the bad idea.
Felt like they were locking in this core, and I guess just the assumption was that Embiid was going to be like the version that we saw that won the MVP, and then in the very small limited time that he played, the year that they got eliminated by the Knicks, like look, dirty plays against Mitchell Robinson aside, like he was unstoppable in that series against the Knicks. So I understood in the moment, if that's the Embiid you're locking up next to Maxey, and now you're adding in Paul George. Okay, fine. That's not, I don't know if that guy's coming back. We'll see over the course of these 82 games, but that did not look like someone that's anything close to becoming like 50% of what that guy was in the playoffs 2 years ago. You know, it seems like something's officially over.
Yeah. I mean, look, like I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and see what he can become, but that contract is a 3-year, $188 million contract that starts next season. So he has, you know, including this season, 4 years and 243 on that deal. I mean, if he looks the way he did in game one, the rest of the year, and that's an if, that is the worst contract in the NBA. And that is like almost like not disputable to me, but we'll see. Maybe he'll continue to get better and continue to like work his way into the year. I would hope.
Just real quick, Sixers also did win, so I do want to we're talking about the end of something and how bad it looks. Like, props to the Sixers on getting the opening night win. In case you're a Sixers fan, being like, we got a huge opening night win in Boston, and they're talking about the end of Embiid. Like I remain, the takeaway from this conversation should be how impressive
they're fun
VJ was. There is a fun thing to pivot to if this is the end of Embiid, would be my takeaway, at least was my takeaway from watching Sixers Celtics on opening night.
I guess my concern is that it's really hard to pivot away from Joel because of the money. But I understand your point. I think your point is totally valid.
Yeah.
Just real quick on the Celtics, like played a competitive game against a team that got really hot from three, and they shot 26% from three themselves. Sam Hauser goes 2 for 6. That's below his mark. Derek White goes 4 for 13. That's below his mark. Peyton Pritchard goes 1 for 7. That's certainly below his mark normally. Anthony Simons goes 2 for 6. That's below his mark. So like they're going to be very competitive, especially, in games where they shoot it, they're going to be really, really hard to beat, I think is what I took away from last night. And they are going to shoot the ball eventually. I also thought Derek White did well, stepping up and being like the number 2 option, 25.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 of 18 from the field. I thought he looked really, really good being the number 2 option. And I would weirdly have some excitement about this if I was Boston fans, just because if they get even a normal shooting night, they probably win by 10.
Yeah. I will say they just had no answer on defense for Maxey. And I mean, not many teams have what?
Damn it.
Be positive. What?
I was trying.
Look,
the defense was terrible.
It wasn't really good. And I listen, full disclosure, I recorded the Knicks Film School pregame pod tonight. The Knicks' next opponent is the Celtics. And I just keep making that point. I agree with you. The structure of their formula is still there. Like, they're going to take a ton of threes. They got a lot of good looks. On nights where Pritchard isn't 1 for 7 and he has one of those unconscious nights, they're going to win games, and especially since they might get close to 50 threes every night. The the calling card, or what made them an unstoppable thing over the past couple seasons, was that you had a point of attack that was elite, you had rim protection that was elite, and this is not to say anything about the two wings, Tatum and Brown, as well as Derek White. Like, you had 5 guys that could defend and 5 guys that could score.
Yeah,
their center rotation just leaves something to be desired. I thought Kata played a good game, and like the Knicks now like have an egalitarian offense. I'm very intrigued by what the Knicks' new look offense can be against a defense that is just very easy to attack from many different angles at this point. So I hear you being nice. There was a solid opening night performance from a process standpoint on offense. I think they're going to just struggle to stop teams that can run any hint of competent offense. And like Philly from a backcourt standpoint looked good, but we just talked about Embiid for as long as we did. And so if teams are able to play 5 players' ability to move with any type of ease, it's just going to be really tough for them to stop anybody this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you want to give some time on the Knicks? I've watched 20 seconds of this game while hitting golf balls at the golf simulator, because I tend to,
I'll just
do shifting on games.
Totally fine. I'll just say this, not overreacting to one night. I also like recognize who didn't play. Like Garland didn't play, DeAndre Hunter didn't play. Obviously, Strus is out for a while. The Knicks were missing Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson, a very mysterious Mitchell Robinson injury, which is just something I've said a lot over the past 8 years. The only thing I will say from a Knicks perspective, because I think the Cavs thing was more intriguing than the Knicks thing. I think the Cavs like ran a lot through Mobley and just saw Karl Anthony Towns now at the 4 and said, let's feature Mobley. And I thought he got whatever he wanted, just some shots didn't fall. And so that more than anything, just a lot of ISO, a lot of like Mitchell's turn, Mobley's turn. And outside of Lonzo and Nance in the second unit looking like what they traded for or what they brought in for a reason, they're figuring out what this, like how to feature Mobley a little bit better with Garland out. So that's my thoughts on the Cavs. You've heard me say a lot about my criticisms of Tom Thibodeau being how inflexible he could be, the lack of depth that the Knicks were capping themselves at because of how Tibbs coaches. It's like, I got my 7, maybe I've got my 8. And if I'm feeling good, I've got my 9. The Knicks played 11 guys in their first game of the season. Trey Jemison got off the bench and played a solid 8 minutes. Tyler Kolek got to play 14 minutes and was good, Sam. Then there's the lack of 5 out. Like this lineup that was Deuce McBride plus the 4 other starters: Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns. I wanted it to start. I'm fine if you want to start with the double bigs, because I think it sets a better tone for your team defensively. But last season, that team, that 5-man unit that I'm talking about, Deuce plus the starter, played 82 possessions. I'm pretty sure they played 85 on opening night. Like, it closed this game down the stretch and outscored in its minutes the Cavaliers 21-15. I'm not even saying it's like foolproof and going to work. I just thought it was reckless last year that we never got a sample size to determine whether or not it would work, because you got to play Josh Hart. You got to have a rim protector on the floor, even though the Knicks operated most of last season without a rim protector. Like, we needed Precious Achiuwa to play the 4 rather than go to Deuce McBride at the 2 instead. So there's very clearly a intention from Mike Brown to see what you have in the entire roster, see what you have with this collection of players, optimized to have the best possible offense. Like, he's really put a principle in of like a spraying out for threes. Like the Knicks, he's actually saying the way you generate these open looks is the drive and kick philosophy. And it's not just like Tibbs saying we got to put up more threes. No, Mike Brown is saying, like, I need this amount of threes off of this amount of driving kicks. And it's been good to hear him say that. And just last but not least, Jalen Brunson dribbled the ball more than any player in the NBA last season. And he like barely dribbled last night because they were utilizing him off ball a ton, with Mikal Bridges bringing the ball up the court, OG Anunoby bringing the ball up the court. And you saw a much more balanced offensive approach that I think is sustainable. And just, a breath of fresh air, Sam, from the Knicks perspective. I'll say that. I'm not jumping out of any windows and saying like, okay, 1 seed, here we come. But for a team that, despite who was playing for the Cavs, went 0-4 against them last year, they're already off to a better start this season in competing against the team that everybody seems to think is going to be the team that they'll have to compete with. I also know there is another team that we're about to talk about that may have something to say about the Eastern Conference hierarchy, and I'm intrigued to talk about them too.
I don't know if I might have missed this. Did you mention that Mikal Bridges only played 33 minutes last night?
Oh, the minute distribution. Like Jalen Brunson only played 34. Cat only played 31. Again, 11 players played. We had shifts of like 5 and out, and then you could come back later. It wasn't just the long 8 to 9 minute shifts. Like Jalen Brunson did play the entire first quarter, and OG Anunoby, my goodness, I didn't even mention OG Anunoby. 24 points, 14 rebounds, and just was a disruptor on defense the entire night. Yeah. Broke up so many actions that the Cavs were trying to run. This felt like a much more balanced approach. Whereas in the past, I'll just say in the past, not under Tibbs, in the past, if a guy is out, the version of next man up in the past was guy that's already up plays more. So instead, we actually saw a next guy step up and get to play, which is where you get Tyler Kolek minutes, where you get Ariel Hukporti entering the starting 5, where you get Trey Jemison. And like, you're not overreacting to these contributions. I still don't know what they have in Tyler Kolek or Hukporti other than like, let's find out during the regular season. But it was good that on opening night, I didn't have to be like, man, we're really trying to play these guys 40 plus on opening night. Yeah. Because we need this win. The process seems there. And I think it's what a lot of people in the Knicks world and in the Knicks fan base have been begging for them to pivot to over the past, at least the last like 365 days.
Yeah, the Bridges thing caught my eye. Just again, I haven't watched a second of this game really. Like, let's remove game 82 where he, came in and out immediately, right? Out of 81 games last year, Bridges played played fewer than 33 minutes 8 times.
And a lot of it was performance based, right? It was like, he's not playing well, he's not going to play the 4th. Like the only time he was able to
some of them were blowouts. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It'd be, like he had a game against Atlanta where he played 27 minutes and had 26 points. He had a game against Miami where they won by 20 plus and he played 32 minutes. But a lot of them were OKC 0 for 9 from the field, played 31 minutes. Indiana 3 for 7, 6 points, 28 minutes. 2 for 11 against Miami, in overtime, only played 28 minutes. So,
is the Atlanta game in late March, early April that you're talking about?
In January.
Oh, so it's the January Hawks game. Okay. There's a game where he checked himself out and Tibbs was furious because I use garbage time to learn. Like that's where he even garbage time matters, even up by 30 or whatever it is. And again, it's a new philosophy and it's a new way of thinking. And I speak on behalf of Knicks fans, but also Knicks content creators when I say like it was refreshing to see this pretty much like everything on the checklist that people have been asking for, which tells Knicks fans that the organization wasn't far off from what we were asking for. That we all got to see it. So hopefully we see more of it.
The last thing I'm going to talk about here real quick is just the Timberwolves getting a win against Portland in, who knows, could be Chauncey Billups' last game as a coach. I thought Anthony Edwards was amazing last night.
Insane.
I don't know if you watched that at all.
This is one of the games I got to. Yes. So let's talk about it.
Unbelievable. Like Portland threw bodies at him. Like they threw Drew at him. They threw, for different stretches, like Tamani Kamara was guarding him for a good amount of time there. Like it just didn't matter. Like the best defenders, like so many of the best defenders in the league, like even like Denny on like a couple of switches here and there, like, then you had like Klingon obviously on the interior. It truly, it didn't matter. Like he was getting a bucket no matter what. He obviously drilled, 5 for 10 from 3, got to the line 8 times, but look, like the passing stuff wasn't there, but just as a scorer, no matter what these gritty defenders wanted to do, he just found an answer. And it was incredibly impressive problem solving without adding the piece of it in terms of problem solving that I want him to add, which is like the passing and playmaking. But like the way he problem solved those defenders was so incredibly fun.
Yeah, the fact that there's this Portland team that we've just all been intrigued by adding Drew Holiday, how annoying we thought they'd be defensively. And look, the Timberwolves' biggest lead in this game was the 4-point margin that I believe they won by. And for most of this game, Portland was winning. And Anthony Edwards. So there's a portion at the beginning of the fourth quarter where I believe Portland went up by double digits. I forget the exact score, but Ant and Julius Randle checked back in and they just went to work. And like Julius Randle had a weird Julius Randle game, I'll say, especially defensively. I've seen that Julius close out entirely too many times in my life. But over the course of the game, I thought he got stronger and I thought he and Ant really started to figure out the gravity, and I thought it was the correct move to start Dante. I think like it let him get off to a good start. I thought Terrence Shannon was really good in this game, and all of these like complementary pieces around Anthony Edwards allowed him to really take over to the tune of 41 points, and he hit 5 threes in this game, including the dagger at the end of the game to put them up 4 and up for good. So yeah. Can tell, like you said, problem solving is the right way to do it because that's a really good defense that he was able to solve on Wednesday night.
Yeah, Randall had 3 assists in the fourth quarter, and then also drilled like that 3 right around like the 6-minute mark or so. Yep. I'm like looking through my notes, where he brought it back to 2, and that felt like I don't know, like they were already coming back, but that felt swingy to me for some reason. Like in the Pacers game, like I thought Ben Shepherd tonight was like a huge swing thing, even though the game was like semi close. Like I think that OKC was up like 8 or so. Like Ben Shepherd just came in the third quarter and just like attacked. He had those 2 possessions where he like deflected the ball into the backcourt. Like he was really, really good tonight. It felt like Randall in the fourth quarter, like picked his spots well, in a way that, generated just enough offense for Minnesota. I don't want to sit here and say it was like a particularly good Randall game necessarily, but it was enough. I thought he did enough.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm checking my notes too. Randall played the entire fourth quarter, but it's when Ant came back in, they were down by 8 with about 8.5 left that they began to come back, and it really showed that they started to, or appeared that they started to figure some things out. It's the yin and yang of Julius Randle. He could be somewhat detrimental over the course of the first 3 quarters, but you stick with him because of what the many different things you can use to your advantage when he's on the court. I also didn't say Jaden McDaniels. I thought he played a solid game too. 6 of 12, hit some threes, filled the box score. There's no one primary like offensive guy that you can put him on. Like there's with no Simons there, and Drew being really the point guard. It's like Jeremy Grant was being guarded by Randall, and it's why I'm alluding to the closeouts that I was very frustrated by. And then I think Denny was just kind of it was like a mix of McDaniels and then Rudy and then whoever, like they kind of switched on him throughout the game. So I thought the Timberwolves had a solid first win against a team that I have high respect for. And I'd be lying if I didn't also wonder, was this Chauncey Billups' last game as head coach of the Portland Trailblazers at a certain point, So
in last note here, Tiago Splitter is going to be the Blazers head coach. Do you know what the best incubator of NBA head coaches is right now, Andrew Claudio?
I do not. Please tell me.
It is Paris basketball over in EuroLeague. Each of the last 2 coaches that they have had, Tomasi Salo, took an assistant job with Memphis, got promoted to the head job, and now Tiago Splitter, who was their coach for a year last year, was on a bench, in the NBA for quite a while, I believe with Brooklyn, if memory serves. And then, came over here to be an assistant with Portland and is now elevated into the head coaching job. Shout out Paris basketball. Those guys over there do a really good job. General manager James Newman, president David Kahn. Shout out David Kahn. Yes, that David Kahn from the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Mm-hmm.
What if the Minnesota Timberwolves ended Chauncey Billups' coaching career for Tiago Splitter, who was working for David Kahn last year?
Oh,
beautiful
full circle.
Synergy.
Yeah,
there
you go.
Beautiful full circle moments occur in the NBA. Splitter's a good coach. I really like. It felt like Paris played very similar last year to what they did under Isalo, like a lot of high ball screen stuff, a lot of well-spaced offense, athletic defense. I would expect that this is a pretty good fit, honestly, in terms of that. And, we didn't mention this in the gambling section just because it's superfluous to it a little bit, but I've thought Billups is the worst coach in the league for a little while.
I know. Yeah.
I don't want to sit here and say that he didn't add value in terms of team culture and, building up the defensive identity. I'm sure he did actually in Portland, but in terms of the on-court stuff that we see, I have not been wildly impressed with Chauncey.
Yeah, I saw your tweet earlier that they're better off with Splitter, and again, I don't know how to equate what I was impressed by from Portland at the end of last season and how much of that is just Avdia getting an opportunity or Kamara taking a leap or coaching, or deployment in that sense. So I'm not comfortable evaluating it that strongly. I'm intrigued to find out though, because I trust your opinion and seeing what Splitter can do and whether, the offensive side of things is really what I'm most curious about, and finding the defensive infrastructure is already in place. Now, can you boost the offense in any way?
Well, and it's interesting because a lot of, I would imagine we probably don't see a lot of change offensively, if only because a lot of for instance, what Paris ran last year was very high ball screen centric. And, look, they could do that, but it's not like Isalo and Memphis where, this year it's a lot of Ja Morant, right? High ball screen with Ja Morant. That's going to be the thing that they do all the time. I would be semi-surprised if they're not in the top 5 in incidents of ball screen usage offensively this year. Portland doesn't have that guard until Scoot comes back, but right. I do wonder if this could be a thing that boosts Scoot a little bit when he does come back fully healthy, right? So that remains to be seen. Andrew, that's all I've got. I just haven't watched any other games yet. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit people. I watched some of the Brooklyn Charlotte game. I got through the first quarter and a half of that, and I was, or no, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I don't need to talk about that. And my goal here when we're off is probably to watch that Memphis New Orleans game and to watch Toronto Atlanta, because I have seen some concerning clips of Atlanta's transition defense, and I would like to see what happened there.
So that is one of the games I got to check out and watch, and Toronto scored 138 points, and it was it was flawless. They didn't barrage them from 3. In fact, they didn't really shoot that well from 3. It was just a ton of 2-pointers, and they didn't get to the line. It wasn't a bunch of turnovers. It was just almost methodical. We know how to score points here. And that was my biggest takeaway from that game, is both the Atlanta defense that you're talking about and the Toronto offense. I'd like to see them against the better defense before making even another judgment of them. But that was the efficiency to which RJ and Brandon Ingram were able to get their buckets in this game was just in your face watching it. So we'll see. The only other game I got to watch was Orlando and Miami.
I did watch that. That's a lie. I forgot we didn't talk about that. I've watched that full game.
So
what were your thoughts?
I already see how they're deploying Des Bane, and it was a nice reminder that he's not just a floor spacer and a shooter. What he can do as a creator off, like when he has the ball, is very much needed, because it's not just like when like Franz has the ball above the break and Bane is in the wing, that there's more space, and that Davion Mitchell isn't like helping off as strong as he used to, but especially with Caldwell Pope regressing the way he did as a shooter, because like that's Des Bane. And so like Franz or Paolo have a chance to drive a little more successfully. But now if you want to like throw it to Des Bane on the wing and get him like a possession, you can run offense for him. Like it's a third creator that also spreads the floor and creates a little more offensive efficiency for everybody. I think the Magic offense looked great. In fact, their defense, now I think Miami just like hit everything for the majority of this game. So there's an element of that. I remain intrigued by Davion Mitchell, and like him. I thought he looked good. Like him landing in Eric Spoelstra's tool shed is just like so perfect, and will be just like a pain to play against all season. But yeah, solid comeback win, because they were trailing by 8 or 9 in this fourth quarter. And then, like I said, it was Des Bane like hit a 3 and then got to the rim and with an and one down the stretch. And then Wendell Carter had some big possessions down the stretch as well in a comeback win against the Heat. So I was intrigued and impressed by Orlando. The perfect way to start the Des Bane era. Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me was that they just played so much faster. Like I haven't looked at where they're at in terms of pace after one game. Obviously, this is so stupid that I'm going to look at this, but like, yeah, they were third in pace so far right now. Like they played up and down. They really got out in transition. They tried to run like every time. This is the thing that's really cool about this team that I like. They're almost always going to have 4 guys out there that can like really run with the ball, like grab and just go down the court and go. Like it was Tyus, it was Bane, it was Paulo. Franz always runs the court really well and always is like really good at trying to like establish early position and things. I think that's where he gets like so many of his buckets and why he's so useful. Like all of these guys, and obviously Suggs is like the big transition driver there, like, you know, pick sixes and, you know, just the chaos that he brings on defense. I am so fascinated by the fact that they're playing this quickly in this up tempo. It felt like a statement of intention to me that they're going to try and play faster this year. Jalen Suggs, for it being his first game back, an absolute fucking madman in the fourth quarter. He was incredible on defense in the fourth quarter. Like I can't speak highly enough of how good I thought he was on the defensive end that quarter. Like he was just absolutely rotating everywhere. Like scramble situations, help situations, which is like sagging off of his man and like making like chaos reads and rotations. It was so good to watch him defend at full health again. Like one of the most enjoyable defenders to watch in the league. And then Wendell Carter won them the game late with 3 massive offensive rebounds, a huge contested defensive rebound, had a couple of putbacks. Like Carter was huge in that game. I thought Goga outplayed Carter for the first 3 quarters of the game, frankly. And then Wendell comes up massive in the fourth quarter. So the center position is taken care of. Just from a style perspective, one thing I noticed was that I think I saw maybe one on ball between Paulo and Bane. A lot of what they did in terms of interactions and screen interactions was off the ball. Like Paulo would set a ram screen for Bane. Bane would set a ram screen for Paulo. Paulo would come up. Bane would like vacate to the corner, or Bane would set like an off ball baseline screen for Paulo. Paulo would dive to the rim kind of thing. Like it was more that as opposed to what I thought would be really interesting is like inverting and running like, you know, 4-2 ball screens and seeing if you can get mismatches and switches, because Bane is so good at like ghosting and slipping actions and things like that, and, you know, forcing switches. But, you know, we'll see if they add that throughout the year. But it was just stylistically, it was interesting to see how they were going to kind of utilize those guys together. You're muted.
Excuse me. No, they have more options now, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They're much more intriguing offensively than they have been throughout this entire Orlando Magic resurgence. So while like Paolo looked like another step, like I don't want to say level, but another step better. Franz looked another step better. Adding Des Bane to this mix does allow them to do a little bit more offensively, and maybe the injection of pace allows them to be that way as well. Their calling card remains defense, though, and down the stretch, to your point, down by 8 with a little over 6 minutes left, they shut the water off on Miami, and were able to come away with the W.
Have you been watching too much Task? Shut the water off?
Oh, that's funny. The water.
Where are we at?
Yeah. Water. You want me to say water instead? That way I'd be a full New Yorker.
Oh my God.
Yeah, don't worry. Chocolate, Derek Jeter.
You do have it when you need to pull it out.
When I need to pull it out, that's the non-regional diction, though, that I'm trying to work on a little bit more. You know, shout out to going to school in the South, to a school you referenced earlier. Shout out Talon Peter.
Oh my goodness, Andrew! Tell the people where they can find your work.
You can find me over at Knicks Film School. Pre-game pod dropping tomorrow morning, or I guess when you're listening to this, around the same time that this episode dropped. Previewing the Knicks' upcoming matchup on Friday against the Boston Celtics. Knicks Film School's got wall-to-wall coverage of every Knicks game throughout the season, with a pre-game show, a watch-along, and then a post-game show, and then off-day content all year. Find me on all socials at Andrew J. Claudio _. Potentially some Mets content coming in the not too distant future as well. And as always, with Sam and Bryce here over at Game Theory. Thank you as always, everybody, for tuning in. It's fun that basketball is back. I've missed it. As much work has been added to the workload, I still very much missed basketball, and getting to really go explore everybody's first game over the last 3 days has been really fun. And I echo what you and Bryce said. Having the NBA on NBC back in my life, I can't explain it to people who are too young to understand, but what Round Ball Rock does to the late 30s basketball fan, it just does things. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah,
feel it deep down in your plums,
in everything, Sam. I feel it everywhere. My plums, all the different places you can feel things. I just the goosebumps I had when the first Round Ball Rock graphic with the peacock lighting up, and they have lasers now, and it's my wife couldn't understand, like, me staring and hanging on every word that Michael Jordan had to say. And it's like, so he told the story about taking a free throw, and it's like, yes, but it was Michael Jordan taking a free throw. Like, I can't explain it to the young one or the person that can't understand it. It's just so good to have the NBA and NBC back in our lives.
It's amazing. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. Go to the Substack, Game Theory, samv.substack.com. Bryce did an Alperen Şengün breakdown earlier today. I had a breakdown of Koa Pete earlier this week, of Reed Shepherd earlier this week. And tomorrow we will have a look. Sometimes we do ones for you. Occasionally I got to do one for me. I absolutely did a breakdown of Jacob Furphy for tomorrow. Jacob Furphy is not going to be in the NBA for, my guess is, a couple of years. But I love Jacob Furphy, one of my favorite players I've gotten to scout over the last couple of years, especially over here in Australia. Definitely my favorite Australian that I've gotten to scout over the last couple of years. Excited to break that down with you. He played against Team USA. I thought it'd be interesting. Big Connecticut hive out there. I think the UConn fans know that I love them and appreciate them. So go to gametheorysamv.substack.com, gametheorysamv.substack.com. We will be back probably on Sunday at this point, would be my guess. We did 3 for you for opening weekend, or opening week. We will talk about the games that happened over the weekend. We've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday games to talk through. That will be glorious. But until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.